Ladies and gentlemen, Katharine Heller.
Thank you so much for coming to Tell the Bartender. I am your host, Katharine Heller. This is the Storytime podcast where we get together and we hear some stories. What is going on, you guys? I'll tell you what's going on. Janeane Garofalo made me a bracelet. What? Unfortunately, she didn't make you guys bracelets, but maybe next time, maybe for the next show. You can fade out the music, Travis. I mean, it's a good song, but thank you. We have an amazing show today. Thank you so much to everyone at Super Week and Comic-Con for promoting the show.
Yeah,
thank you.
Super Week!
Yeah, thank you for thank you for coming. And so basically, we have we have an amazing guest. We have an actor, a writer. She's hilarious. She's a really good matchmaker. Mara Wilson is here. We have actor, comedian, activist, awesome person, bracelet maker, Janeane Garofalo is here. We have a writer, awesome person, co-creator of Welcome to Night Vale. He's in the Neo-Futurists and Too Much Light Makes a Baby Go Blind. Jeffrey Cranor is here. And to my left is my barback, my main voiceover person, my co-host, Jordan McDonough. She is an actor, voiceover actor, but more importantly, the biggest nerd you'll ever meet. She is going to not one, but two Dota 2 shows. Does anyone here know what Dota 2 is? Yeah, don't be shy, don't be shy. You know what it is, where my nerds at. It's awesome, you guys, you should check it out. So basically, I like to start off the show with usually a story, personal story, but my mother is in the audience tonight, so I'm gonna... No, she's great. She's telling me everything I fucking know. So, no censoring here. But something happened recently that I'd like to discuss with you guys.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. So, as some of you know, there's a character named Thor, a comic character named Thor, and recently Thor, the new Thor, touched the hammer and became a woman. This is true in the Marvel series. And in the movie, they announced that they will cast, therefore, a female as Thor. Now, for some reason, the internet just exploded. And let's read some of the comments, shall we?
Oh, I would be happy to, Katharine.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so Jordan, read the first.
Of course. So this is from Dr. No 831. Making Thor a woman? Horrible idea. If they want to empower women, send them back to the kitchen to make more sandwiches.
Spelled sandwiches.
Sandwiches. And say thank you when you get it.
Well, I don't get that part. Is he saying the men should say thank you, or
No,
that the
I
women
think
should
the
be like,
women should-
thank you?
Yes, please.
Okay, I don't
happy
get
to
it. I don't
do
get
this.
it. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is from JPoke84. This is dumb. Precisely because it is sexist. This is placation, nothing more. I'm all for strong female characters, sure you are, but apparently Marvel realizes you can't draw people to them unless you replace characters with them. The problem with comics isn't that there aren't enough female characters, it's that chicks don't like them. What? So making female characters isn't going to help unless there are storylines women like. So unless Thor is shopping for matching shoes, by the way, as opposed to unmatching shoes? Do we ever do that? Oh, girl, let's go get some unmatching shoes today. I want to see that movie. Anyway, don't expect soaring sales among women. Sexist? Yeah, maybe so. True? Absolutely. Jordan?
All right, yes. Chris Raffelt says...
Used his real name, bravery.
Anonymity. This is the classic war on men philosophy. Instead of creating a new female superhero, they destroy a male superhero to create a female one. It isn't enough to advance women in this world. We must hurt men. It is not that conservatives are waging a war on women, but that they won't join on the progressive war on men, which I think is a really important
Only comment I agree with. Yeah, very serious. Very serious topic. And finally, from Joshua. I bet you she would be dangerous during her PMS. I'll bet you that guy's a comedian.
Yeah.
So basically, we decided, I wrote a little sketch, if you will, sort of a trailer, think of it, a 5-minute snippet of what internet commenters think the new Thor movie will look like. Now, as you've noticed, I have a few extra microphones here. I asked some actor friends to help me out, but if you wouldn't mind, let us now show you what they think the new Thor movie will look like. The scene opens with Thor and Angela, Thor's half-sister, I'm Thor, in Thor's apartment.
Thor, we need you. Ant-Man, Wasp, and Iron Man just heard that our evil brother Loki has concocted a sinister plot against Earth. Again.
I'm sorry, Angela. I was checking Instagram. What was that?
Our evil brother has threatened to hold all the planets hostage. There's no time to waste. We need you for a secret meeting at S.H.I.E.L.D.
What does that stand for again?
Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directorate?
Oh, those are big words.
Jesus, Thor, you didn't used to be this dumb. What happened to you?
I don't know. I touched this saw.
Hammer. It was a hammer, Thor.
I don't know tool thingies, you know. I like other things, like, you know, shopping for matching shoes, having PMS, waging a war on men, making sandwiches, and then thanking people.
I would love a sandwich, thank you.
Oh, hey, Dr. Jane Foster, my former longtime love interest.
You haven't called in weeks.
I've been busy, okay?
What, hanging out with Jake?
You must know, Jake and I are just friends. Just platonic friends. Even though sometimes he's so insufferable. Yesterday at work, I tripped over my own feet and he dropped all my self-help books and he picked me up and we just laughed and laughed. Then he mentioned his fiancée is clumsy too and I was like, that's cool. So I told him I have 2 cats and sometimes they fall off things and when I'm watching movies alone on a Friday night and then he said...
It's okay, Thor, I can take a hint. It's over. I hope you understand this means I'll be blocking you on Twitter.
But she's so good on Twitter. She's like 130,000 followers.
I know, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I know. She's really funny. She really nails it, you know?
Yeah, I saw this one last week where she said, I think most people in the U.S. see Canada as a giant Hufflepuff.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. And she was like, by the way, I'm not Matilda anymore. And I'm like, that's hilarious.
Wait, we are in the middle of an intergalactic crisis here. Okay, Thor, I know you've had a weird couple of weeks.
How did you know?
You're my sister. And I've been reading your Facebook page. By the way, you really need to stop posting cryptic messages about being over it, and I just found out who my true friends are, and love is meant to be lost. What does that even mean?
It's personal, okay?
Thor, listen to me. Wait, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just checking to see if Jake liked my Instagram photo I posted.
You need to get your shit together.
What?
Our evil brother Loki is threatening to destroy all of the planets as we speak.
Including Pluto! Even though it's not technically a planet anymore, if it's there, why not?
Loki!
That's right! I'm going to destroy everything, and there's probably something you can do to stop me!
You know, it's cool you got this one. It's Kim fine. I'm just really emotionally distracted lately.
That was easy. I guess I'll see you guys later.
I don't even know what to say.
I do.
Jennifer, our normal sister who adheres to traditional relationship structures and believes in a strict gender binary. The one who's happily married with 2 kids and a great husband.
Oh, I see you've been reading my Facebook page.
Oh, your kids are so cute. I just saw your Hawaii pics. Oh my god.
Thank you. Listen to me, Thor. I know some people... are putting a lot of pressure on you to save the world and not let love interfere with your true calling and to leave the house on a Friday night. But I'm here to tell you it's okay to follow your heart. If you love that man, Jake, you go after him.
Everything just became so clear to me.
That's what real sisters are here for.
I'm right here too.
You're a half-sister. Thank you, Jennifer, for everything.
Or shall I say it is I who should be thanking her?
I took the liberty of having a chat with Jake. I'll leave you 2 crazy kids alone. Come on, Angela, let's leave those 2 crazy kids alone.
Literally nothing about this passes the Bechdel test.
Jake. What are you doing here?
Thor, I've been doing some thinking. I know you've been blessed with these newfangled superpowers, and I am not threatened by that. I like strong women like you, And I realized yesterday, after I ran into you in the hallway and we talked about clumsiness and hats, maybe I've been the one who's been clumsy. Clumsy with my heart.
Oh, Jake.
I left my fiancée. She was surprisingly understanding.
Oh, that's good.
I know now that you can't spell superhero without you and me.
That's beautiful.
You know the planet's about to blow up, right?
Is it? Or is it the sound of my heart exploding with love? No, you know what? That is actually the planet exploding. I think we're about to die.
Yeah, at least I'm dying with you.
If there was only anything I could do to stop it.
There was!
Ignore her, she's just jealous.
I'm just gonna go buy you the ring you deserve. Wait for me.
Oh, see, Angela? It all worked out. There's hope for you yet.
If we weren't all about to die, I would kill you right now.
And fade to black. And that was Thor reimagined as what the internet comment just saw. Thank you so much to my amazing guests. Jordan will be back in a moment to play Craigslist Ad or Casting Notice, and later with a lucky member of the audience, Bar Talk. But for now, let's get this show started. Our first guest. You may have seen her just now in this Thor sketch. You may have seen her in some amazing movies from your childhood. You may have read her on Reductress or The Onion. Ladies and gentlemen, my incredible friend, guest, Mara Wilson.
I do want to say, technically not on The Onion yet, but I will be appearing on the AV Club.
Oh, sorry. I thought The Onion. Oh, okay. Whatever.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I just don't want The Onion to sue me.
Oh,
because I like them.
I don't know why I thought Onion. I think you're funnier than they are, so that's probably why.
Oh, thank you.
Shut
Thank
it.
you.
Have you seen her Twitter account? It's amazing.
Thank you. I spend way too much time on that.
No, not enough.
Yeah. Well, maybe. We'll see.
Well, so thank you so much for being back. You're
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And
This is so much fun.
You said you had a story about heartbreak, or what was that?
Yeah,
I overheard
yeah.
something because something happened at a wedding last night. We were joking about it.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, that was. I do have to say, if you have never seen your boyfriend dance to Prince, you really should. I introduced them, by the way.
It's true.
He's a great guy. She's a great person. This is all great. I'm a yenta, but yeah, it was. So this was like the first time I was really in love. I think I talked. Yeah, the last time I was here, I talked about my first boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
This was my first real boyfriend.
Right.
So we were together for a really long time, and I actually know the exact date that the two of us lost our virginity together, because I looked over at the calendar, and then I excitedly turned back to him, and I said, "Oh my God, David, it's June 1st. This is Carl Sagan's anniversary with his wife." And he was like, he laughed.
Gotta go.
He knew. No, he was like, he knew that Carl Sagan was important to me.
Yeah.
So he laughed.
Because I lost my virginity on Neil deGrasse Tyson's birthday on purpose.
And he was, and he laughed because we were fucking nerds, literally. And and this was something that like we kind of joked about. It was something that we joke about. He started singing that Jonathan Coulton song, 1st of May, but to 1st of June. It's a song goes 1st of May, outdoor fucking starts today, so yeah, it was appropriate. That made for an awkward moment when I met Jonathan Coulton, though. But I have a special connection to your song, 1st of May. He went, oh God. But yeah, so we were a really nerdy couple. We got together in this universally loathed expository writing course called Writing the Essay. Where the teacher...
That's a very creative name for a
yeah,
creative writing
exactly.
class.
Well, the teacher would give all these really belabored metaphors about what he thought about our writing process, and he'd be like he made us read an excerpt from the Epic of Gilgamesh, and then where Gilgamesh talks to the man-scorpion to get passage into the afterworld, and he's like, so I want you guys to think of yourselves as Gilgamesh, and the afterworld as your essay, and me as the man-scorpion. So we just called him man-scorpion, for the rest of the semester.
Wow, that sounds to me like it's a little sexual harassy.
Yeah,
I mean,
man-scorpion, that's kind of creepy.
Did he pull his chair backwards and he'd be like, I'm gonna break it down for you before he said it?
I think he was too stoned to do that. He told us that it was a cold and he was on a lot of cold medication, but that cold lasted all semester. So we got together and we started talking about all the things that we loved, and in that 18-year-old way where you bond over the things that you love very quickly. It's not necessarily about the feelings that you have when you're with each other right away. It's the things that you love. So we had a lot of really weird coincidences. Like, we both really loved a cappella music. We thought it was like the best thing ever. A cappella groups were so cool. And he had this habit of posting like my favorite like lines from my favorite books in his AIM profile, which he later admitted was not a coincidence. It was because he looked on Facebook and he was like, "Oh, Good Omens, okay, and all
but
of
don't you
those
love
things.
crushing on people on Facebook and like
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at what did they listen to on Spotify, and then
Yeah.
next time you see them, you're like, "Oh, I love Mountain Goats," you know? What I
Yeah,
mean? Like-
exactly. Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he did. And he told me later, he was like, "Oh no, that wasn't a coincidence." But we had this, and we felt kind of like we would have ended up together anyway, because we had a friend in common that I'd gone to high school with, and he'd gone to camp with, and when he wanted to go to college in Boston, I wanted to go to college in Boston. When he wanted to go to University of Michigan, I wanted to go to University of Michigan, and we both ended up at NYU, and so we kind of had this like, wow, was this fated to be kind of thing, even though I didn't actually believe in fate. But the one way that we first started dating, I remember, is that one way that he like got to know me is we would talk a lot about Neil Gaiman and Neil Gaiman's books, and after we actually went out on a date, he would give me, like, for every birthday or holiday or occasion, we would give each other Neil Gaiman books, like birthday cards, and we would write in the beginning of it. Just a note,
This
though.
sounds like the story cannot have a bad ending.
Well, it can. But one thing I will say, though, if anybody feels like giving a Neil Gaiman book to somebody they just started dating, American Gods, maybe not the best one, because there are man-eating vaginas and a lot of violence. And I remember he gave it to me like the week we started dating. He's like, "Oh, borrow this book," and then I read it and I was like, "Okay, all right, I'm an 18-year-old virgin, okay," But anyway, he was like, I used to tell him he was my rock. Like, we were really, really crazily in love, and and we did all those like dorky things together. Like on our anniversary, we went to see a Tom Stoppard play, and we just like were these two little like, these two like miniature like liberal New York City Jews who arguing about whether real Marxism had ever been tried, and in that college kind of way. But
me and my boyfriend are like insufferable, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
let's talk about theater like all day long.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I'd be like, "David, what if we got a dog and named it after Bertolt Brecht?" That was the kind of stuff we did.
Yeah.
So
we named our
Brecht
imaginary
fan.
child after Henry Miller.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of thing that you do. I noticed one thing. He would always kind of like limit me in some ways, like, or he wouldn't try to, but he would say things like, every time like I'd bring up like this big idea, he'd always say, "Well, I don't know, honey." I'd say like, "I'm thinking about getting a pet," and he'd go, "I don't know, honey, that's a big responsibility." Or I said, "Well, I bet I could go into comedy," and he's like, "I don't know, honey, there's so much rejection involved." And then I said, "I bet I would kick ass in a zombie war." And he said, "I don't know, honey, you're so anxious. I don't know if you would, you'd probably
That's
be
the
hiding
only
up
reason
here."
because of your anxiety.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the only reason you wouldn't kick ass in a zombie war.
Well, I'm good in a crisis,
Yeah.
I put like one of those Victoria's Secret extra padded bras on my head under a helmet to protect my precious brains, and be out there with a shotgun and a crowbar. I have a plan.
And if you need a Xanax, it's fine.
Exactly, you take a Xanax and you keep going.
I would.
Oh yeah,
That's
so
right. That's how you win a zombie war. Xanax. Brought to you by.
Yeah. So that actually like really upset me. One of my coworkers, when I told them that story later, they were like, "He was doubting your warrior spirit," and I think that's
very
a good way of
symbolic.
putting it.
Yeah.
And
My shrink would say that.
yeah, so we had all these little coincidences, and we were each other's best friends, and and boyfriend and girlfriend for 3 years, and just completely wrapped up in each other, and completely didn't really hang out with anybody else, and we were so like, it was
So
hard
healthy.
to know. Yeah, like it was a happy relationship, but it was not a healthy one. It was not, and I told him sometimes, like, "You are my rock. You are what's keeping me steady, because I'm so anxious and you're so laid back," and he wasn't, but I thought he was. By comparison, he was. And so then he went to study abroad, and I have 3 older brothers, and at least 2 of them have had girlfriends who went to study abroad, and came back and suddenly weren't their girlfriends anymore. So I'd seen that happen, and I was nervous about that happening. And I remember the semester he was gone, I was...
Where did he go?
Exotic London.
Uh-oh.
But this is a guy also who hadn't really been far from home very often, you know? He like, when I was his age, well, when I was the age that he was, we were the same age. But by the time that, you know, by the time that he was actually going to London for the first time, I had been in London for months, you know. I had filmed there. I had been, you know, when I was 12, I was in Toronto by myself for a month or two, just filming, you know. My dad, like, came and visited sometimes, but I was there with the Guardian, and I was working, and that was what I did. And he hadn't really had that kind of experience, you know. He'd, like, been to summer camp, but he was this, like, yeah, but he was this, like, you know, he had this wonderful family that lived, you know, 45 minutes away, and he hadn't really seen the world yet, so... He went to London, and I remember one night he called me on Skype and said, Mara, something really weird happened tonight. And I was like, okay, what was it? And he's like, well, you know that that girl Amy that I was hanging out with, like, she's a really good friend. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, we went out alone drinking, and we went out alone to a concert, and then she came back with me alone to my dorm. And I played my guitar for her.
Oh no. No.
And then she kissed me.
Right.
And
it's all her fault.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, and I told myself, like, okay, well, if the genders were reversed, I would be like, no, you know, that's not, you know, that's not an open invitation. That's not saying anything. You still have to consent. And he said, you know, that he wasn't, and I would say this with a male too, but I was like, you know, I don't know if maybe you should hang out with her anymore. I said that, and, you know, or maybe at least, because he was like, are you mad at me? I was like, well, I'm kind of mad at her, but maybe you shouldn't hang out alone with her anymore. Maybe you should only hang out with her in groups. And I'm kind of surprised that you went out alone drinking with someone, like...
And he's like, but how am I supposed to secretly date her in a group?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you know, and I was like, but you don't, you know, I probably wouldn't go out alone drinking with someone because I'm a woman and that's a safety concern. And he said, well, you don't understand the London drinking culture. And I said, I think you're full of shit. Because I had, you know, I was like, okay, please. I was in London when I was 12, you know, and he told me that I just didn't understand it, and he was annoyed that I was upset with her, and then he came back home, and it was kind of like, I'm looking through you, you know? Like something wasn't there anymore, and we kept fighting, and we kept fighting over the Amy thing, and then eventually one day he, you know, came to my apartment, and I remember the people next door were fighting too, and I told him, this building's actually owned by Edward Albee. And we, and I love those of you who got that. And he said there's a fundamental lack of trust in our relationship, and I once again told him, I think you're full of shit, you know.
I love how it's all on you.
Yeah, it was. And then he said, well, I can't deal with you when you're like this, and he stormed out.
Yeah, but he was with Amy.
Well, that's the thing. I said to him, can we please talk about this? And he said, no, because I don't want to ruin it. So I didn't get any closure. And he knew that, like, I was a control freak, and I had abandonment issues, and I had all this stuff, but he just
And he never admitted that he actually was hooking up with this girl.
No, he didn't. And to be honest, I'm not sure he actually was.
No, he was.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I think it was knowing this guy who was, like, super innocent. It was probably only like, another one of my friends used to call him Vanilla Boy. Like, it was probably only emotionally cheating.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But even so,
well, here's an example. So, as you heard, you guys were at a wedding last night. My boyfriend, I was home preparing for the show, like a good person, and he's like, I need to see you immediately, and I was like, what is up?
Yeah. And
so he comes to my house. He's like, there's something I have to tell you, and I was like, okay. And at first he got down on one knee, and I was like, no. And he's like, no, it's not that. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I was at this wedding, and this girl, and I was like, oh, here we go, was just dancing with me, and it was really gross. And I was like, did you fuck her? He goes, no. I was like, well, I don't care. And he said, wait, what were you dancing to? He's like, it was some Prince song. I said, was it Darling Nikki? And he said, no. And I went, well, then there's no problem. That would have been a problem. tell him, but it's all fine.
He came up to me afterwards. He was like, "Oh God, no, that girl, no." He was just like, "My girlfriend is awesome."
I'm honestly not concerned. I thought it was very sweet.
And there are times there are people you know that just aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so I got really sad, and then I threw myself into like different projects. I was in 4 different plays that semester at school. I was depressed, but I kind of powered through it. And then the next time I saw him was actually, well, first I saw him at a friend's parents' funeral, which was a sad occasion. And we talked a little bit before that, and I said, you kind of leaving me hanging and refusing to speak to me was, a very selfish and cowardly thing to do. And he said, "Oh, selfish. I don't know if it was cowardly." It was cowardly. It was cowardly. Although, to be fair, I did not react to the breakup very well either. I mean, I called him and left, like the Beatles, "You Won't See Me," playing on his phone.
Good for you.
I did all that, like, no reply. Yeah, I did no reply to. Like, I did act like kind of a crazy person, but there was, but he didn't, but he knew what he was doing was not good for me. And so I saw him the next time at a party. My friend said, "Hey, just so you know, David's going to be there with a recent girlfriend." And I showed up, and there's this girl there, and she comes up to me, and she says, "Hi, I'm Amy." And I knew that wasn't a coincidence.
So it was the Amy.
It was the Amy. Of course it was the Amy. And I went home, and I cried, and I screamed, and I looked her up on Facebook, and I cried and screamed more when I found out she likes Twilight, and I was just furious, and I invited some of my friends over, and my friend Alessandra was like, "You just gotta let him go, man.
Yeah.
You just gotta let him go." And I told her, "No, I don't, shut up." And as soon as she left, I was like, "Oh yeah, she's right.
Yeah.
She's right. I do need to let this guy go."
Well, Mara, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it gives everyone in the audience comfort knowing that your instinct is always correct.
Yeah.
Your instinct is always. I
Exactly,
knew,
like,
you telling me that story, I was like, I want to find this Amy bitch right now.
One last thing I want to say though is, so I went off and I kind of did my own thing and like started writing more and stuff. And as soon as I like got rid of him, it was like a weight had been lifted. And I started putting my stuff out on Twitter, and I started getting more attention, and a few years later, I got invited to this party. And who should be at the party but Neil Gaiman? And I went up to him, and I said, "Hi, I'm Mara." And he was like, "Oh, yes, I follow you on Twitter. You're so funny." And I told him, my boyfriend and I, my ex-boyfriend and I, we used to give each other your books as gifts. Like, we loved you when we were in college. And he's like, "I'm so glad to hear that." And I wanted to give him a hug. And then he said, "Give me a hug." And so he gave me a hug, and he was just so friendly and so sweet. And I went home, and I just thought about David, and I was like, man, I can't believe that this happened. And, I can't believe that, like, he's off with Amy, he's getting a law degree, he's doing this whole, like, boring, safe existence, and I get to do all these cool things. Like, this is like a celebration, and, I wonder what day it is. And I looked at the calendar, and it was June 1st.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're a re-virgin.
Full circle. Full circle.
Awesome. Well, before you leave, Jordan, can you come on up? We are going to play everyone's favorite game, Craigslist Ad or Casting Notice.
I think I'm getting better at this.
You're getting better at this. So, you're winning for a prize bag from Buy Brooklyn. We have new things in here. We have Manhattan Soda, nerdy, vegan chocolate. That's nerdy.
That is nerdy.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn pencils and a Brooklyn magazine. This is all for you.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Basically, here's how it works. Jordan is going to read what is either a legitimate Craigslist personal ad or a legitimate industry casting notice, and you have to guess which one it is.
Okay.
Jordan, take it away.
All right, here's the first one. Seeking female, early 20s to early 30s. A little bit more complicated than just high class. It's as if many different religions and cultural traditions tell of a deity, demon, or myth. Emotionally heavy with death, lust, bad dreams. You are the personification of these concepts. Craigslist ad or casting notice?
I know, right?
I want to say a casting notice, but the passion, lust, dreams makes me think like somebody is really, they really want this. I don't know, like up on a pedestal. I'm gonna go for Craigslist.
Ooh, the answer is casting.
It's casting.
It is casting notes.
That's okay, Mara.
Well, as you said, Catherine, always go with your first instinct.
Yes, yes. Well,
Yes,
you still win.
exactly.
You still win,
Yay!
though. Our sponsor by
I
Brooklyn.
love this show.
Thank you. Stop. So that's from By Brooklyn, a wonderful store on Smith Street. We're all locally grass-fed sponsors at this show. So now I'm going to introduce to the stage a wonderful, an amazing woman. I don't even know what to say about her besides the fact that she makes bracelets. You've seen her in everything. I love her. Janeane Garofalo, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for the bracelet and happy birthday!
Yes, I'm an AARP now. I am. I got my membership. I should have brought it up.
Oh, man.
It's in
Did you
my
really?
wallet. I am.
Serious?
In AARP.
Wow, that's amazing.
If somebody hands me my backpack, I'd be happy to show.
No, it's okay.
The audience, the podcast people won't see it, but I'll tell you something. Don't scoff in the 20 years from now when some of you will be joining AARP, because Brooklyn is a youth demo. I don't know the age of the room. You'll get a free backpack. You'll get a free backpack.
They give you a free backpack?
Yes, if you send your card back in. Don't, hang on, inside the backpack is a pill box. It says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yes, that's free. Yes, and then in the front, the backpack has a mesh pouch for your passport, because we said we were going to travel. Didn't we? Didn't we say that? Now that we're empty nested? But we can't. We can't travel. Why can't we travel? Because we co-signed for a student loan for our children, which is not dischargeable in bankruptcy. Susie Orman, how many times does she have to tell you that before you get it through your head?
That's amazing. Well, you came to my birthday show on my birthday, so I think every 6 months we should do this. You know,
Yeah.
we're exactly 6 months apart. So, you have a story about quoi, per se.
About what?
What? In French. I don't know. I'm
Oh.
not sure.
I was sorry about what? Oh, you're asking me. I was like, wow, we didn't talk about quoi.
We can talk about quoi. Let's do it.
I have a
right?
story about what? Well, AARP has been really
Yeah.
the biggest news.
If it's a giver, bring it on.
It's fantastic. I'll tell you, looking at my golden years is a wonderful, and it's amazing. I'm wearing a hat indoors, which I really am about 14 years past. But it's so cold back there. But I'll tell you, I went back and forth on it, because at my age, you can't really wear a Carhartt hat indoors.
I mean, in Brooklyn, though, you can.
Well, actually, that would be where it's even dicier. Because, like I said, the youth demo in Brooklyn. Because it's all happening in Brooklyn.
I made a family ties joke the other day, and somebody didn't get it, and I just almost died. I know, right? It's like people get that kids, they get younger.
Yeah, they do get younger. I made a Car 54 Where Are You joke. I was always talking about Jack Parr.
Right.
He wasn't on Car 54.
Right, yes.
But I'll tell you, Brooklyn is at the forefront of Urban Outfitters. The one in Williamsburg is really great.
Yeah.
It really is
It
very,
is.
very good. It's ridiculously priced, and they don't have a sale rack like the ones in Manhattan.
Well, you remember back in the day when there was Antique Boutique and Unique on Broadway, and Urban Outfitters, was that just starting, or was it like...
I'm not sure when that really
took off, yeah.
became ubiquitous, but I'll tell you, if you put the time in, you will find certain things, because the stuff is overpriced.
Right.
But if you go to the disheveled, very disheveled, because everything is permitted, clearly. Like at H&M, overrated, it's a mess. It's a mess. But if you can go through the mess, you will find a few things and say it has a tiny flaw on it.
Right.
So it'll be marked down to $10 from like $40. So it should have never been $40 in the first place. But I don't care about the tiny flaw.
Well, they say that God makes things imperfect for a reason.
Right. Were there to be a deity
Yeah.
that had an effect on the Urban Outfitters clothing?
Exactly. It's symbolic.
I think that God is too busy with Christian Mingle. He is so concerned about certain people's social lives and what they are listening to on Spotify, which we were talking about earlier. But yes, The Christian mingle, that is the perfect marriage of ego,
Yeah.
delusion,
Right.
Indoctrination. And many people have. I don't want to be condescending about this.
You were raised
I was
Catholic.
raised very, very religious, and I by my senior year of college had become agnostic, and then went the whole hog to atheist.
Yeah.
Now I am willing to have a god or gods. I need proof, and I don't say that to be facetious. I mean that sincerely. Honestly, I don't want to alienate anyone. I'm just speaking for myself.
Absolutely.
I just feel that way. But when people add a dating site to not only to this idea of a deity, but that this deity has a dog in that fight of personal life, and that that's the main thing. That's what they're thinking, and that's what this god is thinking about.
Right. That's why Ebola's all over the place. It's God's way to our Christian mingle.
Yeah,
Jack and Susie can
he took
finally
his
meet.
eyes, or she took her eyes off the prize for a second, and Ebola in the States.
Exactly.
And as you know, when it happens to Americans, it's more important. On the news, if there's a plane crash internationally, you only need to know which American passengers. Just like when attractive people are harmed in a tsunami, it's saying, if it was a very good-looking person, we must mourn even more.
Can I tell you something though? The only time I believed in God is I hate flying, and I get on this airplane and this beautiful. I don't want to be weird, but I've never seen a more beautiful woman. It was in Hawaii.
There's something weird about that. It's like art. It transcends gender. When you see people that are as lovely as a thing to look at in a museum.
I mean, even I was just staring at her, and she's Hawaiian, and she's just like so perfect. And she got on the plane, and I was like, "There's no way this plane will crash." God created this beautiful woman to walk on this earth and not die with me on a plane. That was my main takeaway.
Well, had the plane gone down,
she would have been on the
there
front
would have
page.
been a lot of talk. Because I can remember, and we may have discussed this before, there was one time, probably about 8-10 years ago, a senator had committed suicide, some senator, and they said, why would he do it? His wife was so beautiful. Had she been a skag, we could all understand why he would take his own life. But she was beautiful. It just makes no sense.
I don't get it.
It was just such a strange thing to note, and that's certainly beside the point. What anyone's spouse looked like. But it is a thing where, hack channels like E will do this, like when they talk about, she was so lovely, or any like forensics files.
Right.
It must always be noted if the person was good looking,
right,
especially if they're female, to add to this tragedy because we just lost one more.
They were,
There's only a handful, and mostly in Hawaii and Brazil.
Hawaii.
It is Hawaii, and it has a high percentage of very good-looking men and women.
People.
Some people win the genetic lottery; they really do.
I watch football.
Footy.
Just somebody. I was watching the World Cup, and I was in the bar by myself. And they're like, what team are you rooting for? And I was like, I'm just here to look at the dudes. I was joking, but half.
Was it a Hawaiian football?
Oh, no, it was Brazilian.
Brazilian,
yeah.
I didn't know there was a Hawaiian.
I mean, maybe there is.
Oh, there could be. I know nothing of sports.
Yeah, I don't either.
I just know that they exist.
Yeah.
And people like them.
Yeah. Well, Janine, there's something of a surprise for you besides Craigslist.
Besides the other surprise you gave me?
Besides that surprise I gave you. And
she gave me the best gift backstage. I know that sounds lascivious.
It sounds sexual.
I'm being sincere. She gave me a wonderful, wonderful, hard to come by gift, and I appreciate it a great deal.
Okay. And a puppy. Before we get to Craigslist Ad or casting notice, there was a woman. So some of you know, this podcast is bi-weekly, and normally it's done like in my apartment, in my home studio. Every 2 months I have a live show, but normally I have regular folk on to tell stories. And recently I had a woman on named Sally Tamarkin, and she's a wonderful person, and she told a story about you. And I'm going to briefly, and don't worry,
I alarming. I don't know whether it's
you're the hero. She's the bad person, and I want you to listen. I cut this down. I have to do it through here because I had a problem with the audio earlier. I need you to listen to just.
I can't think of an instance where I've been.
You're a hero. You're a hero. So this is Sally T on my show. I'm going to play it through my phone. It's about a 40-second clip. The actual story is 6 minutes long, so I didn't want to bore you, but here it is.
So when I want to say I was like 20, basically way too old to be doing the activity I was doing. I was like 23. I was writing in wet cement on University Place. So I'm sitting there on my knees writing in the cement, and I hear, "Don't do that." And I was like, that is such a familiar voice. Like, what? And so I crane, like I look over and I look up and I see this like little petite woman with these like 2 super big dogs, and I realize I'm staring into the face of my actual idol, Janeane Garofalo. I was feeling like there was like a typhoon of shame because I was already doing something completely ridiculous. Anyway.
So basically,
I do remember that. Right?
No, and to be fair,
in front of people's buildings.
she ended the story by saying, I didn't want to have the whole story, but she ended by saying that you had said, it's just that people live here, it's not nice, whatever. She said you were so nice, and she just didn't know what to do. And I said, if you ever got a chance to apologize to Janeane, would you? So she's here tonight. Sally So I'm sorry to do this to you, but I figured why not? When in Rome. So Sally Tamarkin, ladies and gentlemen, she is also the co-host of an advice show called The Struggle Bus that we do once a month just for funsies. So Sally,
Your hair was longer. My hair was longer.
Oh my God, you remember?
I do, and I remember how she looked at me because
oh
I
my
really
God.
felt badly about saying, "Don't do that."
The
you know,
horror.
writing in the cement, and I don't know who lived there.
No,
but it
you,
was,
no, it, you. I don't know if I'm more horrified that you remember. I was sort of hoping you wouldn't remember, but no, it's amazing. I want you to know, I am not a wet cement writer. That is not
by your reaction.
I was
by your reaction that I had picked the one person who would never do that.
so glad that read. I'm glad that read. I think I was trying to be rebellious by writing in wet cement. I think I was trying to impress the friend I was with.
Yeah, there was 2 of you.
Thank you. Oh my, this is
that's
such
15 years ago, by the way.
This isn't like a huge deal. It's only something I'm thinking about for 11 or 12 years. By the way, also, I was actually 25. I wasn't even
You looked like
young.
You
I know.
looked like a little kid.
Yeah, I was behaving like a little kid. But I had like made like one tiny mark, and like, or maybe I hadn't even like gotten to the cement yet. But you pointed out that it was like, well, it's not cool. It was. You were very nice about it.
Yeah.
And so it was like maybe but it was just like so I've gone back and tried to see if I like where it was. And I think it would be like a tiny line and like hot teardrops.
Hot teardrops.
I think it was actually like off of University.
Yeah,
I feel it was like 11th or 12th or something. Yeah. It was like perpendicular to University. I can't believe you remember.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
I'm like Oprah, you guys.
You're healing hearts. You're healing hearts.
Sally, anything else you want to say to Janeane Garofalo?
No, I'm not a wet cement writer. I have nothing to talk about in therapy for like the next like 2.5 years. So I'm like, this is like a clean slate.
Sally, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sally just coming up Sally gets a copy of the RuPaul comic because she's a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
I do, because I remember feeling like an ogre. I thought she was a little. I mean, obviously she clearly looks like a little girl now. Still, that's not. That's a value neutral statement. That's not. But
no.
I thought she was very nice, and she was with her friend, and they both seemed like they would never do what they were doing, and I hope I didn't come off as harsh.
No, and if it makes you feel any better or not, but 3 days ago, I was walking down the street getting catcalled, as you do in New York City when you're a woman, and
that doesn't happen to me anymore now that I'm in AAR. I'm now invisible. You're invisible as a woman in AAR. You're just invisible.
But this guy starts singing, "Pretty woman walking down the street," and I went, "All right, that's it." And I went, "Why did you do that?" And he took off his earbuds. He's a window washer. And he shows me on his iPhone. He's like, I was just assisting. He goes, I would never. He goes, not that you're not pretty, but I would never do that to a woman. That's so rude. I chose the one guy. The one guy. Anyway, we hugged it out. So, all right, are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
Craigslist Ad or casting notice. All right, Jordan. So you know how to play?
I do. Because I played it last time.
Yes, by Brooklyn. There's different things in it this time. There's the magazine and the pencil and all the fun stuff and the chocolate. Jordan, take it away.
All right, here we go. Seeking any ethnicity, any age, you are part of a new society after the apocalypse happens, living in a new city made of tents and carrying the strangest of people. The new Los Angeles could not be weirder. Craigslist ad or casting notice?
Oh.
It's a cat, but you still win, Janeane. Thank you so much. Janeane Garofalo, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, so we are going to have Jordan stay on stage while we play a little game I like to call a bar talk. So here's the dealio. We have a prize bag from the comedy podcast Keith and the Girl with frisbees and lighters and keychains with bottle openers. So I call it the bag that you take to the park to do whatever. We also have tickets to Rock Comic-Con at Webster Hall this Thursday, 2 tickets. It's worth like $50. And we also have a gift bag from Lily, a wonderful store with a very special surprise in there on Court Street. Court Street and what is it, Wyckoff?
Between Wyckoff and Warren.
Yes, Lily. So we have 3 sponsors. So can I get a brave member of the audience to come up and play Bar Talk? Who is that? Oh, come on up here. I know you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I happen to know this person. This is John Quinn. All right. So here's how you play the new version of Comic-Con Bar Talk. I think you're ready. So instead of asking what the term of a bar is, and then you tell me what it is, I know you're really good at bars, we're switching it up. Jordan's going to read the name of something. It is either a comic book character or a drink. So you have to answer. If you get all of them right, you win all 3 prizes. If you get all of them wrong, you still win. Because I'm a giver.
Nothing.
I'm a giver. But
there are 5 of these?
5 of these.
Okay.
Are you ready, Jordan? All right, here we go. Let's play Comic-Con Bar Talk.
Hold on.
Oh, John. Tom Cruise is ready.
All right, number 1, Kitty Pryde.
Drink.
Character. Sorry.
All right. Number 2, Madame Mirage.
Drink.
Character.
Man, you're a professional drinker. What the heck's wrong with you? All right.
You should drink.
Himself. Sazerac.
Not a character. It's actually a thing that Thor, now a female, would be worried about. So I'm going to go with drink on that one too.
Correct.
Good work.
That is correct.
I was
Yes,
worried
that's correct.
for a moment. All right. Jack Rose.
Drink.
Boom, got it.
Woo!
All right. And the final one is Taskmaster.
That's John Quinn.
Character.
Good work. You're
All
3
right.
for 5.
You won. You did it. You won Comic-Con. Prizes from Keith and the Girl, great comedy podcast, Lily, great store, and Rock Comic-Con, a sexy date night for you and your girlfriend. Wow. Yeah.
Like all our date nights.
Thank you, Quinn,
Drink.
for playing. Thank you so much, John. So Jordan will be back later to play Craigslist Ad or casting notice with Jeffrey Cranor. So I know I already announced him, but ladies and gentlemen, you may recognize his voice from Welcome to Night Vale. You may recognize his writing from Welcome to Night Vale. You may have seen him in Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind and other fun, awesome stuff. He's also the best person in the world, Jeffrey Cranor, ladies and gentlemen. also do storytelling shows, I should add. You're a
like
wonderful storyteller.
Thank you.
Aw, you're great. And I know your voice is not technically on Night Vale, the show, but it's in the intro sometimes.
Sometimes I played Joseph Fink one time
Yeah.
in the intro.
People were up in arms.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were. So
yeah.
confusing.
I know. I think I once called you Josephine. Okay, so you had a story you said you were thinking about?
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. I've been reading a lot of trying to get caught back up on books after tour and things like that. So I was thinking about my first ever job interview.
Ooh.
In high school was with Walden Books at the mall, and but
I
before
thought you meant like the actual company, like
no,
you're an intern.
no, it was just at the bookstore at the mall at the Walden Books,
Right.
B. Dalton, the huge competitive. They're still around? I have no idea.
I don't think so. It's because they didn't hire you. No.
They didn't. No, but that's not a spoiler. I will tell that story in a second though. But I wanted to talk about teeth
Oh, sure.
first because I'm really into teeth. And when I was here's the thing. Like the thing about teeth is that they're not very big. When you smile and you look at yourself in the mirror, but the actual tooth is like this long. And I found this out firsthand in 1992 when I drove my car into a pickup truck. And I was listening to Def Leppard.
That's why.
It was the Hysteria album. And I was driving to a friend's house and I hit a truck. And I didn't see the truck. And so I impacted it about 35 miles an hour. And it was also a 1985 Ford Escort, and if back in the day you could like pull, they kind of dug into your neck the seat belt,
Right.
so you could kind of tug it down and it would just hang loosely.
Right.
So I was
Which is
essentially
safe.
just had
Yeah.
a lap belt.
Yeah.
So my face hit the steering wheel. It bent the steering wheel back about 3-4 inches. I ended up just getting this cut on the bottom of my lip because I bit through it entirely, and then I also these front 3 teeth. Right here, you can kind of see I got a vampire fang. They came out, and here's how they came out. They came out top first.
Wait. I need a little bit more
So here's how.
exposition on that.
This is how physics works. So when I hit the steering wheel, what happened was that the steering wheel caught the very bottom, as the doctor was explaining it to me later, caught the bottom of my top row of teeth. And so when you push something one way, there's like a fulcrum effect that causes it to go this way. So they came out top first, and now 3 of them. And then he found 2 of them. And the doctor laughed when he said it, but he said, "I think you're going to digest the 3rd." I don't know. I never saw anything of it. I have amazing digestions. I don't know. I have no idea. But,
Wow.
So that was the thing that happened, and I do remember like that. At the time, it was really horrifying, and it wasn't so much pain. Like I don't ever remember any pain from this at all, except the stitches. I do not ever remember pain. I just remember the shock of suddenly like feeling like my lip torn open and like my teeth missing, and then like there's it's just so dramatic. Any type of like cut to your face or head is going to cause a lot of blood. And there was just blood all over the windshield, and I just remember tearing out, and I went to the other truck, and here's the thing, I went to the other truck, and there was no driver in the truck, and I was just like, I've killed him, and I hit him so hard he vanished. And the thing was...
He spontaneously combusted.
He was never in the truck. It was just parked on a road, and I was 17, and so into... I don't know what it was. Pour some sugar on me on that. No, I don't remember. I was so into whatever the hell.
You just drove right into that
I just
truck.
wasn't even looking. I just wasn't even looking. Just drove right on into it.
You do monster truck rally wrong.
I did.
That's not how you do it. You go over.
Well, and this was a terrible thing to tell a 17-year-old, because the doctor also said, he was like, I think you did really well to survive this because you were oblivious to the wreck. You never. Like the police said that there were no track marks for your brakes or anything. You just slammed right on into it. And he was like, this is why drunk drivers often survive things. And so for a 17-year-old, you're like, oh, be a drunk driver. That's how you survive your wrecks. You just drink all the time.
It's true, and they're like more relaxed. And
Yeah,
that's why they
because you're completely relaxed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here was the thing. So this happened. So I had to do like months of reconstruction where they had to like basically rebuild all of the bone structure. I don't know if it's epoxy. I have no idea how you rebuild bone structure in my upper jaw, but they had to basically go back and for like a week I just had open bones exposed on the up row. I wrote for Night Vale. And
I have to say, I have not seen this dark side of you until now, and I listened to this most recent episode. By the way, thank you for making me on the train go, wait, what? What the fuck? So anyway, I now understand you now.
But yeah, they had to rebuild all this bone structure up here, and then they had to like basically like sew my gums back shut on the upper side, and none of the other teeth had any real damage to speak of. Like it was just those 3, which is very, very strange. So then they outfitted me with some fake teeth for a while, which is basically a retainer. So what they do when you don't have teeth, I don't know, they just made a retainer. It's like a dental retainer, but instead of having the wire that went around, they built out some 3 fake teeth that just slid on up in there. So it looked like I had teeth, it looks like I have teeth now. And you know, so I had this retainer that every day at high school lunch at Poteet High School in Mesquite, Texas, I would have to take my retainer out, set it on my tray, eat my pizza and gravy or whatever the fuck they were serving.
Together.
Yeah. And then you get a lot of people coming over being like, oh, let me see your teeth, let me see your teeth. You know?
I kind of want to see a picture.
Well, I have to dig something. Oh, we didn't have digital cameras then.
All right.
That's so sad. I'm nearing where Janeane is going. The AARP membership. But yeah, I'll have to dig that up at some point and see if I can find that and maybe I'll do a hashtag TBT on Facebook. Look for it.
Toothback Thursday.
Toothback Thursday.
So yeah.
So that was the thing, and so it also became a problem too. Like, I don't know, like you can't eat things like apples when you don't have those teeth, and you can't. There's just a lot of things you realize that you can't do, and but you have these teeth missing, and that's fine. And I had this retainer, and the thing about the retainer is that it's just really hooked in by these little wires in the back, and it didn't have the front wire going around. So as it happened, I would sit in class. I'm a 17-year-old boy, and I have all this nervous energy, and I would sit in class, and I would just figure out how to like pop the retainer out with my tongue. And then eventually I could just kind of pop it out just with like a little suction, and I'd flip it around. I could like flip it over in 90-degree angles. I would just flip it around. It was like chewing gum.
Yeah.
That was basically...
Great way to meet chicks, too.
It is. It was amazing. So I could just flip it around. It had gotten so loose, and I just flipping it around in my mouth all the time. So anyways, that summer after my junior year in high school, I went for a job interview at Walden Books. Because I like books. And it was me and the manager who she was sitting across from me on a bench in like a little kind of like a public area of the mall. It was very similar to this setup right now.
They wouldn't even let you in the store. They interviewed you outside.
Well, it was just
the
a
mall.
tiny little mall store, right? So there's like benches in this little
okay.
area in the mall in Townie's Mall. And we're sitting on the bench and we're having this interview, and she's asking me about books, and we're doing this thing, and I'm telling her how much I love books. And at one point in time, I think it just out of habit, I just like flick the thing, and all I know what she saw was a big hunk of pink plastic and 3 teeth shoot out of my mouth, but then stop about 1.5 inches because the wire caught on the inside of my cheeks. And I immediately, because I was really good at this, just went and it sucked right back into my face.
Let's hope she didn't read a lot of Stephen King novels.
No.
Because I would have been like, what is that? Did you act like nothing had just happened?
Yes. So to make matters really smoothed over and really so that we understood what was happening, I pretended like nothing at all happened. Which is the number one way to deal with it. Because I think it's because I was 17 years old and I just was like awkward teenage boy. And just, I'm gonna get this job. It's gonna be fine.
Do you remember the look on her face?
No, I think I probably wasn't even making eye contact with her. I probably just kind of looked down, and I didn't really think about... I legitimately thought I was gonna get the job because I liked books so much. If you like books that much, you have to hire that person. Like, it's in the law. And
I hope that alien Kathleen had just come out because there's that scene where the teeth.
That was like this is 1992. We were probably a year removed from Get Away from Her, You Bitch. Yeah, yeah. I wish I had had a power loader. That would have been great. But no, I actually just sucked it back into my face, and it was just so much part of who I was at that point that I just thought this is just normal. This is a thing, and we just move on. And it wasn't until probably. It was probably a couple weeks later after I still hadn't received no phone call from Halton Books, and it was like, I bet I didn't get that job because I bet that freaked her out.
Well, that's an amazing story, Jeffrey. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
absolutely.
that. I now understand you a lot better. If you don't listen to Welcome to Night Vale, that makes a lot of sense to me. Do. It's an amazing show. By the way, I'm just very concerned about Carlos, but we can talk about that later. All right, so Jordan, will you please come out here for the final guest, the final game. Jordan McDonough, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful voiceover artist. Hire her, actress, wonderful person, geek, everything has helped me out a lot for this show.
It's the full package.
Full package, girls. All right.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Wanted. Awesome black woman. Craigslist Ad or casting notice.
My wife and I recently ran this exact ad, so I'm gonna say Craigslist.
Good work, it's Craigslist.
We didn't run it on Craigslist, we put it on Christian Mingle.
Jeffrey Cranor, ladies and gentlemen. You can hit the music. Thank you so much for coming to Tell the Bartender. I have to thank my guests, Jordan McDonough, Wilson, Jeffrey Cranor, Janeane Garofalo, special walk-on by Danny Hatch, and my mom.